Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Higher or Lower, brought to you by Spreadex, Sporting Index and oddschecker. This weekend we are looking ahead to the Championship, the Premier League and the FA Cup.
Wow.
What a weekend of football we have in store. This is the show where we look at the spread betting markets and say if we think the eventual result will be higher or lower than the midpoint. I'm your host, George Ellick. Delighted to be joined by Jack Wright and fresh from Milan, Dan Worth. What was the best thing you ate in Milan?
That is a very good question. I had a focaccia with parma ham, all the toppings, and Duja spread. It was lovely.
Double pork.
Yeah, man. Can't get enough pork.
Interesting. What do you think of the bacon sandwich, the sausage sandwich, and the bacon and sausage sandwich?
As in, which would I go for?
As in, yeah. How do you
I'm
rank
quite
them?
a greedy boy, so I'll probably go for both.
Really?
Yeah. I'd even throw eggs in there, hash browns. I'll take a lot.
What's bacon like these days?
Very nice.
Is it?
It's a lot better than it used to be. Yeah. Very nice as well. Yeah.
And faux sausage?
Yeah.
Sausage?
Sausage. Yeah, not so good. But the bacon's decent. Yeah. Stick that in a nice little bit of tiger bread or.
Nice tiger roll.
Yeah.
But isn't tiger roll, isn't that cheese?
No. Tigers aren't made of cheese.
Sure.
Yeah. You're thinking of a cheese roll.
Yeah.
We're going to be having a look at this as we roll. I think you might have been eating cheese for the last 40 years. And we've got it live on camera. I'm sure I'm wrong. And if I'm right, I won't say
Sourdough was what I meant to say. I
Yeah.
can't remember the name of it. That's
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
have.
yeah.
Cut sourdough.
Right. Big weekend of games. We've got 6 games to get through because there's so much on TV and because I came up with the questions this week and there was no way I wasn't going to get an EFL game in there. So, Stoke hosting Sheffield United in a game that when the bosses at Sky chose it, it would have seemed like a huge game. Stoke battling off relegation, Sheffield United trying to break into the top 2. Yeah. Sheffield United can't now get in the top 2 and it looks like Stoke are probably safe. So, maybe a bit of a damp squib. Although, Stoke fans watching, as is the case in the near relegation paradigm that is with all football fans, Stoke probably have a 0.5% chance of going down. In Stoke fans' minds, it's about 50, so it's a bit different. But we're looking at the total goals market here with Spreadex. 2.35 is the sell price, 2.55 is the buy price, 2.45 the midpoint, so 2, 1 and 0 is the lower, 3 and more is the higher. 3, 2, 1. Can't wait. Take it away with a really in-depth analysis.
There won't be much
It's
depth.
Friday night, it's goals.
It's Friday night, it's goals. Sheffield United won't want to go into the playoffs. Like, they've been poor recently. They won't want to go into the playoffs out of form because that is a recipe for disaster, as you well know, being an EFL fan. Yeah, I mean...
Southampton last year lost like 4 games in a row before beating Leeds on final day and then going up.
Yeah, the win on final day there. Maybe that was the form that changed it, and that's exactly what Sheffield United are going to get here. But you saw the ending of the Burnley game where it's all kicking off. Their players obviously pretty gutted to miss out on the automatics. And I think they'll just want to end the season as strongly as possible, which is obviously a silly thing to say, really.
No, mate, nothing you say is silly.
Oh, mate, can we clip that up?
Yeah.
I can see why this is a low line. Obviously, Stoke were hit for 6 last time out, and that, like we usually discuss, that means a team will tighten up a little bit, and there won't be 6 goals. This time, I'm not really here to suggest there will be loads and loads, but I think my usual stance is if we only need 3, then I'm there, and that's exactly why I'm there.
I love that.
Right now.
My stance is if we need 3, I am there.
There.
You're not there.
I'm not there, no. No, I think it's going to be a bit of a boring affair, to be honest with you. Stoke will take a point, which I think the point is then mathematically safe. Is it a point all they need? I think they'd sign for a 0-0 draw right now and move on and get ready for next season, to be fair. And Sheffield United, of course, bigger fish to fry on the horizon, possibly a case of making sure their players are at the optimum going into those playoffs. They're going to finish 3rd, so there's got nothing to gain from it. And I can just see it being a bit of a drab affair. I like your point as far as Stoke's 6-0 thrashing at Leeds. They want to bounce back from that and consolidate, batten down the hatches. And I just think that the stats would suggest that it's likely to be a low-scoring affair anyway. And I think just the nature of the game now would lend itself to being the fact that there will be fewer than 3 goals. I certainly don't see it being a complete goal fest, which means that I've got more on my side going lower than going higher and looking to have 4, 5, 6. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Sheffield United joined Sunderland in being a team who are, they know their fate now and can prepare for the playoffs. If you look at Sunderland's recent games, a 1-0 win, a 1-0 win, a 0-0 draw, a 1-0 defeat, a 2-1 defeat, and a 1-0 defeat. So like all their games apart from one have been low scoring as they kind of take their foot off the gas. There's also an element here with Sheffield United where they come here off the back of, as everyone had, a very busy weekend with the game on Friday that they won against Cardiff. And then a gruelling game on Monday afternoon, both physically and emotionally, where they were beaten by Burnley and they saw their chances of automatic promotion extinguished. I agree with your point where Wilder definitely won't want to go into the playoffs having lost both of these games. But my hunch is that, especially having played Monday afternoon and playing Friday night, he will see this one as one just to write off. Like rest players that need resting, make sure you don't come out with any injuries, and then look at the home game against Blackburn on final day as the one where you try and build some kind of a head of steam in front of their own fans. And I think this will be treated based like a pre-season friendly for Sheffield United. Stoke need a point again, so I can't see them throwing caution to the wind. Given if they commit too many men forward when ahead or whatever like that, then they could get picked off. I think this looks to me like a really low scoring game with Stoke probably just making sure that they don't concede rather than throw men forward. I think this will be one. Not a great. I would normally sit here and be like, Friday Night Football Championship. Make sure you see it.
Yeah, go do something else.
I don't think I'll be watching this. I think there is also a chance that it could go crazy, because if Sheffield United do turn up and they're like, this is just game doesn't matter to us at all, we're going to play loads of young players and everything else, then obviously there's a chance that it could be really end to end. And I probably wouldn't be betting with my own money and selling at 2.35. I'd probably back unders on the fixed. But I don't think it's one for a spread bet, because there is, Stoke games have the tendency sometimes to go a bit nuts because they're young attacking players too. So a tentative lower from me. Chelsea versus Everton. Now, this might be a new market for us. Team goals. Quite
it's an
fun.
interesting one, isn't
Do
it?
you like it?
Yeah, I like mixing things up. So yeah, I'm all for it.
Certainly the first time we've gone to 3 decimal points.
You should be
Yeah, I did think that as well.
You should be a cocktail. What do they call them?
A cocktail.
A mixologist.
Mixologist.
Because I love mixing it up.
Yeah.
Right, come on.
Everton goals,
That's one
0.8 to sell, 0.95 to buy, so the midpoint 0.875. Basically just means that higher here is an Everton goal. Lower is a Chelsea clean sheet. 3, 2, 1. Yes. What on earth?
Yeah, I don't know.
Enzo clean sheet.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I feel quite bad now. I thought we were all going to be on the same side there.
Right.
But Everton don't score loads of goals, do they? Only the 3 relegated sides have scored fewer goals than Everton this season. But sort of worryingly, from my point here, still averages out at 1 goal per game for Everton, which would be enough to see you guys home. But Chelsea, for all of their faults this season, they haven't been horrendous at the back either. They're ranked 4th for fewest goals conceded, and they have a really good record against Everton, undefeated in their last 31 at home against Everton. So that spans back a long time, doesn't it? And Everton obviously safe. I wonder if they're going to make a few changes. I've seen a few bits and bobs out there at the moment that maybe they'll start Chamiti, because he's not had much game time this season, and maybe they'll try and give some guys that haven't played much a go to start to build for next season and have a better go at things. So that brings question marks. Might have the complete opposite effect. They'll bring someone new in and he's trying to prove a point, and bang, there we go, goal.
Bang.
Yeah, I've gone lower, so I'll have to stick with it, but it's not a confident.
I think higher here. I know that Chelsea's defensive record at home is actually pretty good this season, but we saw them concede twice to Ipswich last time out, off the back of 3 consecutive home clean sheets. But this is more about Everton. I know that last time we saw them fail to score against Man City. They failed to score twice under David Moyes, but those were City and Liverpool. I don't think Chelsea are as good defensively as those two. And off the back of a defeat at home, I think we'll want to see a reaction. Chelsea, we know, are, even though Maresca has his critics, they're generally a team that score a lot at home and look to take the game to the opposition, and that can often leave them porous at the back. So I think Everton will score here.
Yeah, I agree. I just think they've done so well under Moyes, and I don't think he's going to want that season just to kind of tail off. They're kind of, in a minute, a bit of a funny little battle to sort of finish 13th, really, but there's some big sides, traditionally big sides, in and around them, and he's done such a good job to get them up to 13th since taking over, and has generally they've kind of scored. They're not a side that go and score loads of goals, are they? But they're generally good for one, and that's how I kind of see it. It's not going to be a massive win, I don't think. Certainly, I think this is a market that if you're new to spread betting, it's probably a good one to get involved in because your risk's not going to be huge on this one at all. You know where you stand. So, you look at they played 6 games under him on the road since he came back to the club. They've won 3 of those, and they've won at Brighton, Palace, and Forest. So, not the easiest games to go to and get a win. So, I think Chelsea really still unconvincing to me. And I think this has got the makings of them always going to Stamford Bridge, looking to keep it quiet for an early part of the game, frustrate the Chelsea players and the Chelsea supporters, who could then potentially make it a little bit of an uncomfortable afternoon for their players. And I think Everton might get something out of this, and therefore will score a goal at some point in time. So yeah, I've gone higher.
Higher, right. On to the third game on the card, and this is an FA Cup double-header. We normally go through the games in chronological order, but I've packaged the 2 FA Cup games together in the middle of the show. Thank you very much.
Mix it up. I love that.
Mixologist. Palace against Aston Villa. Now, these games take place at Wembley. What do we think of that?
No, rubbish.
Yeah, rubbish.
Yeah, I think I probably agree. I mean, I was lucky enough to be at Manchester United Coventry last year, and that was one of the best games I've ever been to. And it felt like because it was at Wembley, it made it all the more special. Having said that, I do agree. Because I think getting to Wembley should be like the the
Pinnacle.
We've devalued it, haven't we? Let's be fair. Like, most of my mates have played at Wembley now. It's just one of those that it's just.
Have you?
I haven't.
Your mates have?
Yeah.
Oh, I need to join their team.
Yeah.
I'd love to play at Wembley.
I'd be knackered.
I'm
Way
so
too good for
tired.
me.
I played 11-a-side on Good Friday, and I think I've got a cracked rib. I've got a grazoid on my knee. I did the most pointless sliding tackle of all time. This guy was just running down the wing, going nowhere, and I decided to slide tackle the ball out of play for a throw-in.
Feels pretty good though,
What is
doesn't
the
it?
point?
You must have felt quite
An Astro.
Yeah, that's yeah.
The guy
that
ran
was
past
silly.
me and said, "Your knee's going to hurt." And I looked down and I was like, "Yeah, correct." Where
Ended
were
my
we?
career, that. Yeah, ankle injury though, not a graze.
Not great.
Yeah.
You're the second person I've spoken to in 2 days who had that happen to them.
There you go.
The other one was Dean Ashton.
Me and Dino, you know what I mean? We've got
Both
so much in common.
prolific.
Yeah. Do you reckon you'd have scored 100 goals for England if you hadn't had a...
If I was as good as him, yeah.
Yeah.
I was a right back, so no.
Look out for the England pod, wherever you get your podcast. Palace
I'm on
Villa. Yeah, you're on it. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Villa supremacy is the market here. 0.2 is the sell price, 0.4 is the buy price for spread X, so 0.3 is the midpoint. So higher is a Villa win. This is 90 minutes, we should say.
Yes.
Lower is a draw or Palace. 3, 2, 1.
Oh my goodness me. It's almost like I've been on holiday.
Can we do this every time?
Right.
I knew that private WhatsApp.
How
would come in
happy will you
handy.
be if we're different every single one and you get all of them?
Mate, if I have to buy 2 donuts next week, it'll be the best day of my life.
Both
I
of
think.
you.
Can you get Krispy Kremes if that happens rather than your
I don't know if the budget
50p Tesco's ones you probably
I
get?
couldn't find a Krispy Kreme around here, so I had to go to Tesco.
Westfield?
Yeah, but that's out of my way, isn't it? I'm enjoying this chat though. It's like delaying me having
Come on.
to talk about my rationale.
Come on, mate.
Getting 2 results on side, aren't I, here? In Palace win
You are.
and a draw.
2 wrong ones.
2 wrong ones. Palace against Villa, they've been pretty decent recently. Won 6 of their last 7 home matches, which I know this isn't a home match because it's at Wembley, but that's just what I've looked at. Because
Okay.
That fits my
Brilliant.
argument.
Yeah, nice, love it.
And they've been free scoring as well.
Okay.
Scored at least 3 times in their 3. Obviously, it's a big game, it's semi-final, and those games don't usually, although you did mention the Man United Coventry one, don't usually mean loads and loads of goals because both teams will be a little bit nervous, a little bit edgy. But yeah, I mean, this is just a way of me saying I want to get both sides, both results on side because I'm not too sure, and I think Palace have been pretty decent recently. Villa slightly less so.
Did you miss what happened against Newcastle on Good Friday?
I mean, yeah, because I was on holiday.
Did you actually know what happened?
No.
What was the final score? Was it 5 or 6?
5.
5-0 they got beat.
Excellent. They're great at the moment though, because they're saving
In fairness,
themselves for this.
As they missed penalty at 1-0, so it could have been different.
Yeah, I did
Could've
actually
been
see that. But
5-1.
a decent result. Decent result for them last night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the final score? I went to bed before full time.
It was 2-2, I believe.
Was it?
Yeah, Mateta with,
Nice.
with a nice little goal towards the end. So they'll be focusing on that form yesterday rather than their Good Friday.
Any other scores you guys want to catch up on while we're here?
No.
What was the Milan Atlanta score?
Milan lost 1-0.
You were there.
I was there. It was great. Game not so good, but atmosphere and experience.
San
And
Siro.
the best player on the pitch, an EFL graduate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Adamola Lookman.
San Siro, great car park, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's very, very cool. I love the staircase. Obviously, everyone loves the staircase, but where they look like they're moving,
Everyone loves the staircase.
that was quite fun to walk away from.
Okay.
Yeah, let's move on.
Are you done?
Done?
Right, fine.
Yes, please.
Good rationale on that.
Okay.
Thanks, mate.
Jack.
Well, when was the last time Villa got beat by Crystal Palace at Wembley on a Saturday afternoon? Go back a long, long way. No, I just feel Villa, I think this could be actually quite an exciting watch. I think Villa will be gutted, of course, that late goal. I feel they were a little bit subdued against Manchester City, certainly towards the end of that game where they thought, well, we'll take the point. I just feel that they've got too much firepower for Palace, who've been a little bit shaky defensively. They were last night against Arsenal, obviously in that 2-2 draw. And I just feel that extra day as well, playing on a Wednesday and then coming into the Saturday games, a little bit of a disadvantage for them away at Arsenal. Obviously not far to travel, of course, but still a tough game to go to. So I think this comes down to firepower. Villa have got such great strength in depth there at the moment. Will it be Watkins? Will it be Rashford? Will it be both of them? Milan off the bench. I thought Jacob Ramsey was superb the other night. And also, you've got Morgan Rogers as well. So there's a host of talent they've got in those forward areas, and they are looking pretty solid defensively as well. A rare error for Martinez cost them against City. But other than that, I like what Villa have got at the moment in great form. And I think Unai Emery, now out of the Champions League, it's going to be a stretch for them to qualify for the Champions League again. I think he's absolutely desperate to try and win a trophy for Villa. And I think they probably deserve one on the basis of the season so far. So I'm going to take them to get through to the final, and I think they'll win it over 90.
Yeah, I agree. I've been really impressed. I mean, we sat here talking about the Villa-Newcastle game, and I was like, how are they going to bounce back from that disappointment? But I think they bounced back incredibly well. Yeah. Obviously, a bit of a sucker punch to be to concede that goal against City as they did. But now out of the Champions League, with top 4 or 5 looking pretty unlikely, like it feels like winning the FA Cup is going to be important to them. And I think they are, on merit, one of the best teams in the country right now. So, I fancy Palace I've got a lot of respect for, but in terms of who I think are more likely to win over the 90 minutes, I think it's got to be Villa. So, I mean, it should be a really good game. I love these FA Cup ties we've got coming up here, because it feels like, apart from obviously City, albeit still for them, it's still important given the season they've had. There's no cheapening of what the FA Cup means for those who like to do it down this time around, I wouldn't say. So let's talk about the other game, shall we?
Yes.
So we got Forest against City, same market, supremacy market. City over Forest, 0.7 to sell, 0.9 to buy. 3, 2, 1.
Oh my goodness me.
Amazing.
That'll teach you for going away.
Dan,
I know.
take it away, mate.
I mean, of all of the ones we disagreed on, I think this is my most confident.
Ooh, you think City? Do you not have a bit of respect for
No.
Nuno?
No respect.
No respect for Nuno.
I do have a lot of respect for him and what they've achieved this season. I think getting to the final might be a step too far. Maybe I'd have a different answer if they were playing someone else. But I think given this is City's only chance of a trophy this season, Pep is just going to go all out. And we know, although they haven't necessarily done it so much this season, but how ruthless Pep and Manchester City can be. And I think this will be another example of that. Also, their form has turned around a little bit of late. I know that people are going to look back on this City season and be quite disappointed, particularly City fans. Obviously, no one else is going to care.
Just to come in on that and have a conversation about it, you look at that and you think, they've had a few issues. Obviously, Roger was massive loss. They've had Haaland out for quite a while. And by their very, very, very high standards, they have had a disappointing campaign, but they're third in the league. Yeah. They're in the FA Cup semi-finals. The Champions League was the disappointment, I guess. But they are in a bit of a transitional season, kind of planning ahead for next season. So I think this is massive for Pep to go, look, everyone's been saying we've had such a terrible season, but we've won an FA Cup, we're qualified for the Champions League, finished third. There's a lot of clubs that would absolutely snatch your hand off to have the season they're actually possibly going to have. So, yeah.
I agree. And I just think, this is obviously Man City who have been there, done that for seasons and seasons now. Forest are sort of the new boys that don't have that much experience, particularly in this kind of game at Wembley with so much at stake. And I think the experience will will prove super important. I think City will get the win in 90.
Interesting. Yeah, I just think Forest are a really awkward opponent for City. They start games really fast. They're really, really good at defending leads, as we consistently see, both in terms of like a solid, compact out possession shape, but also what they offer on counter. They're not one of these teams who are kind of stale and just soak up pressure and don't offer anything going forward. Like they absolutely do. And despite City obviously improving to an extent, that was a big win for them against Villa, as I just mentioned. I still don't think they're quite at it as it stands now, and there's a lot of uncertainty. You've got the De Bruyne situation going on, you've got the Bernardo Silva situation going on. It feels like it's kind of an end of an era coming here for City, and it wouldn't surprise me if their really disappointing season is compounded by a semi-final defeat here against Forest.
Well, do you know what? I kind of agree with both of you.
Thank you very much.
I'm being diplomatic here. I actually think City get through, but I think it might well take them extra time and possibly even penalties to get there. I think Pep will be very wary of that threat that Forest have. I think obviously their possession style will be prevalent, as it always is. I just think that they'll look to try and grind Forest down a bit, and I think Forest will do their shape, obviously be very much a threat on the counter, and I think Pep will try and probably put people in positions to look to counter that and be very, very conscious of that. And I do think this is a massive game for Pep. I think that you saw the reaction to that last added on time winner against Villa. He celebrated like that. He was like he'd won something. And for a guy that's won everything and been dominant over the last few years, what it meant to him to win that and effectively kind of steal the race for that top 5 position shows you that it's not a case of, well, it don't really matter that much. And I think he will be desperate to get his hands on a trophy given the troubles they've had this season. As I said, I just think that this has got the makings of being a real tight affair. I think Nuno will set it up that way. He'll obviously look to combat, and they are a really tricky opponent for Manchester City. And I think Man City will get there, but come 90 minutes, I think it'll be all square. So therefore, I'm going lower. Do have the Forest win in my pocket as well. And I say, if you ask me who's going to go through, I'd actually side with City. It's their time of year, innit? It's their time. But so they're not quite at it. So I have got elements of both of you in my rationale.
Basically betting the draw, aren't you?
I do fancy the draw in this one, yeah.
0-0? 1-0?
1-1.
1-1. Right, 2 more Premier League games to get through. Going to start with Bournemouth against Manchester United. Looking at specifically Bournemouth total goal minutes here. 94 to sell, 102 to buy. The midpoint is 98. The Sporting Index. 3, 2, 1.
Oh,
hey.
Goodness for that.
Come and join us.
You want lower on a total goal minutes?
Yes.
You will?
Yeah, I know. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. Yeah, jet lag.
You got the same jet lag that Mate Jurasek got.
Yeah.
Me first again.
He didn't cost as much. No, Jack can go first.
Thank you.
He didn't cost as much. Have you not seen his contract?
No.
Frightening stuff. I don't really fancy many goals in this game at all, full stop. And I think on paper, probably the general consensus would be, this could be quite open. Bournemouth score lots. They open attack inside and so on and so forth. I just feel that, they have hit a real dip at this moment in time. One win in 8, but they are still 8th, so they're holding that final place we think will be European football next season. A position that seemingly no one really wants to take advantage of, because everyone around that area are dropping points. I think in attacking areas, Semenyo was sensational at the start of the season, and he's just tailed off a little bit. He did score a couple of weeks ago, but I think he's just having a little. It's got to that point of a long season. He's been a key part of this team for a long while. It's just taken its toll a little bit. Evan Nielsen's not scored in his last couple. Kluivert's obviously just back from injury, so he's working himself back into it. And Ouattara, no goal in his last 10 league games. So I think in their forward areas, they're struggling a little bit. Over the course of the season, I think that they've just created lots of chances, but unable to take them. And that is just a theme I think will continue. They've only scored 20 goals in 16 home games this season, which is a pretty low total for a side that you think Bournemouth attacking, score plenty of goals. 5 of those came against Nottingham Forest. So you take those out of the equation, and they have really struggled in their home games. They score more away from home, but have only conceded 14, and only Forest and Liverpool have conceded fewer home goals than Bournemouth. So it shows you that, again, a side that you don't necessarily pigeonhole as a good defensive side are, at home, been decent throughout the course of the season. So I just don't think they're going to be scoring that many. And United, for all their faults and problems that we've talked about over the course of the season, have been fairly decent defensively. They've only conceded 20 away goals this season. Arsenal, Liverpool and Everton have only conceded fewer than that. So I think they will keep it tight. I think they heavily rotate against Wolves. Expect more of their kind of first choice players to come back into this one and make it a bit of a tighter affair. So a low scorer for me, and I think you're going to need at least 2 goals for Bournemouth in this, aren't you, to cash? So, yeah.
Dan?
I don't think I've got anything to add. That's absolutely it. You've got Bournemouth, whose form has dipped massively. Man United are pretty terrible and not very potent going forward. I completely agree. It's going to be a low-scoring game, and as you say, you need 2 Bournemouth goals here for this to make up. At least, yeah. And I'm not sure if they do get 2 early goals, if they're going to keep their foot on the pedal. I just think it's a low scorer, so low.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. But it's just the line. Like, it's just such a high line. Like, we've seen whole games that have a line only like 10 or 15 more higher than this. And like, for all of United's poor performances, they have games where they're all right defensively, all right. Like, Bournemouth could score twice here and seal the game early, and we still cop. So it's just a line case for me rather than being particularly anti-Bournemouth or pro-United. Finally, the game which could see Liverpool win the Premier League in front of their fans, who obviously missed out during COVID when they last won the Premier League. It's sure to be some big celebrations should they do it here. Goals cubed is the market we're looking at. This is the total amount of goals cubed by themselves. So 1 would equal 1, 2 would equal 8, 2 would equal, 3 would equal 27, 4, 64, 5 to 125, and so on and so forth. 91 to sell, Sporting Index, 111 to buy, 101 the midpoint. So you need 5 goals for profit.
It's not fun, is it? It's just betting 101.
3, 2, 1.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, this is a really high line. Like, it feels like there's like a Tottenham tax when it comes to goals at all times, and I'm still not entirely convinced at the moment because they're offering so little going forward. Like, well, against the Liverpool side who are stingy defensively at home, I just can't really see them causing to Liverpool that many issues. So you're looking at Liverpool having to rack up a big score, which they don't really necessarily do. Like, they manage games well when they're ahead, especially given the circumstances in terms of winning the title. I just think this is a game that will fizzle into Liverpool winning it comfortably 2 or 3-0. Jack?
Totally agree with that. Obviously, they need a point to win the title, don't they? So should they be holding a point towards the end? That does them. If they're winning, you can see them. I think I agree. I've got in my head that they win this 2 or 3-0. And therefore, the last 20 minutes is going to be passing the ball around Olays and beach balls, isn't it? That's how it's going to be. The ground just rocking with the fact that they're effectively celebrating while they're playing. You'll see players coming and going, so they can get standing ovations on and off the pitch, and that's just a party atmosphere, which I think the consensus has been, it's Anfield, that Liverpool are going to go in there and smash 5 or 6. They said they've not been in that kind of form for a long while now. They've been just about doing enough. They've been litting another time, like that 1-0 at Leicester last weekend. Yes, I know it's at home. Yes, I know it's Tottenham, but Tottenham are a different Tottenham than they were in the early stages of Ange Ball, weren't they? And they have not got so much going forward, and they are a little bit more compact, less gung-ho defensively as well. So I just feel that, that's exactly how I see this game panning out as well.
Yeah, same here. I think if I'd fancied Spurs to get involved in the goals, I'd take this on, but I just don't at all at the moment. I don't even see them scoring. So to need Liverpool to score 5 or more just seems wild. And as you say, in a game where they only need a draw, obviously the only other thing to add is that Salah's now on a 5-league game drought. If a 5-league game can be a drought.
It's for him.
But yeah, Liverpool are just getting over the line now, and I think this will probably be another case of that, really. So lower.
Yeah. Good stuff.
No, as I say, like, even 5 goals is a relatively minimal loss, isn't it? So to get a proper loss by going lower, you need 6, and you're looking at, it is possible with these two sides, history, but I think given the current state, Tottenham, don't forget, still got that big European game soon on the horizon. That's going to have some kind of focus for them, a big focus, in fact.
Yeah, absolutely. On to naps now. Time to move over to the Nap King. Dan Worth.
Is that me?
What's the best bet?
I'm going for Fabian Schär, player goal minutes. Buying at 6.5. Scored in his last 2 games. 4 shots on target in his last 4 Premier League games. I think Newcastle are going to absolutely hammer Ipswich here because on Good Friday they scored 5 in a 5-0 win. And I think we'll see something very similar to that. Yeah. They obviously beat Ipswich 4-0 on the reverse fixture, and I do actually see it being very similar. Here, there are obviously quite a few players that you could probably buy their goal minutes, given that I fancy a big win here. But Shah is a max risk of 6.5 times my stake, so he feels a safer bet than than any of the further forward players. And I think he's just a huge goal threat, as we've seen in the last 2 games where he scored twice. So a buy of Shah goal minutes at 6.5 for me.
Lovely stuff. Jack?
I'm going into League One. I'm going to repeat a bet that, for me, I would say is the best bet of the season so far. Not life, possibly, but the season so far. It's Bristol Rovers versus Reading, and it's
ding,
selling...
ding, 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 ding. Ding. Reading.
Ding.
Up the ding.
Lewis Wing.
Yeah.
Ping.
Right. Nice. Scene.
That didn't work.
We just like rhyming things.
Yeah.
Ring.
Travis.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. I'm going to sell first. Time of first goal. First goal minutes. Midpoint's 35.5. I did it a few weeks ago. Bristol Rovers. At that point in time, I ran through all the stats. If you want to see all the stats, then just go back about 4 episodes, and they're all there for you. That particular day when I backed that, Mansfield scored in the first minute. Since then, there have been 3 more Bristol Rovers home games. Against Birmingham, they conceded in the 3rd minute. Against Exeter, they conceded in the 11th minute. And against Stevenage, they conceded in the 12th minute. 18 of their 22 home games this season so far have seen a first half goal. And 17 of Reading's 22 away games have seen a first half goal. And Bristol Rovers' manager is saying that we just keep conceding these early goals and it's still downfall, and there's complete turmoil at the club at the moment, isn't there?
Yeah.
And it doesn't look very pretty for them at all as they look to try and scramble out of the relegation zone. And while Reading, obviously, only outside the playoffs on goal difference. So a Reading win.
What a club.
What a club.
What an achievement this season.
Reading win with an early goal or 2, I reckon.
That'd be lovely.
Yeah.
There
So
you
anyway,
go.
selling 35.5, midpoint, first minute goals.
I'm going to Preston Plymouth in the Championship. Goals cubed, midpoint's 40, and I'm buying.
Right.
You all right?
Yeah. I didn't hear what game it was.
Preston Plymouth.
Okay, yep.
Preston, one of these teams that are kind of safe but not quite safe. They could be safe by the time this kicks off, with Luton playing in the 12:30 game. And if Luton don't win that, then they're basically safe. But Argyle will need to win this. And Argyle are not very good away from home generally. We've seen ridiculous scorelines of them on the road already this season. They've lost 4-0 a couple of times. They've lost 6-1 once. They've lost 5-0 once. Their last 2 games are 2-1 and 3-0, which obviously would finish just below here. But I think the nature of the game with them having to win and therefore having to throw men forward wherever possible against the North End side, who it's a big game for them to get over the line too. It feels like I can't see a scenario here where both teams are happy, basically. So with Argyle's really poor defensive record on the road and just not being able to be as poor from an attacking standpoint, like I can't believe this will be one of those games where they don't lay a glove on their opposition, who are woefully out of form themselves. It feels like it could be fairly end to end. So yeah, at 40, that is my nap.
I like it.
There we go. Thank you very much for watching this week's episode of Higher or Lower, brought to you by SpreadX, Sporting Index, and oddschecker. If you haven't already got a SpreadX or a Sporting Index account, click on the link on the show description. There is a new customer offer there, T's and C's to apply. And please ensure you read up on spread betting before you get involved. And remember that losses can exceed your initial deposit. Oddschecker have you covered for your fixed odds betting needs, best prices, offers, and tipsters all on site and on app there. So check that out too. And whoscored.com have the stats you need to inform your betting on the football this weekend. Thank you to Jack.
Thank you.
Thank you to Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you again next week. In the meantime, please ensure that you're gambling responsibly.